On a winter's morning, Odessa Grady Clay and Cassius Marcellus Clay Sr. were on the move from the hospital. After 9 months pregnant, working as a maid in Louisville, Kentucky, Odessa finds that the child was a boy. His blood type was A, and he was lively. A strong boy was born in Louisville General January 17, 1942. They named him Cassius Clay Jr., who he would later know as Muhammad Ali. Cassius Sr. painted billboards for a living. Cassius Sr.'s grandparents were John Clay and Sally Ann Clay. Sally Ann rumored to be a Madagascar native. This is the bloodline that tied him to the use of North African slavery in the South. His family was proud of their heritage despite that, and he was no different. His brother was named Rudolph Clay. Later he would change his name to Muhammad Ali alongside his brother. At a gas station in summer at a very young age, he went in to buy a water bottle as the scorched sun dried his young tongue, but he was denied service due to his skin color. He, not surprisingly, was furious. This is one of the earliest cases that spurred his intense want to be important. Later, when he was 12 years old, he had his bike stolen. As he let off steam, he was spotted by the neighborhood police officer, Joe Martin. Joe asked what was wrong, and was quickly filled in. Cassius never saw the culprit, but he told Joe that if he did, he'd whoop him. Officer Martin, a trainer in his off time, said he would need to know how to box in order to do that. Cassius denies his offer until he sees on TV that boxers can become famous. He had found his way to become important. After 2 years of training under Joe Martin, he emerges onto the amateur scene, switching trainers over to Vassal Chuck Bodak. Vassal was a legend, training names of Rocky Marciano and Julio Cesar Chavez. Chuck was an Army vet, surviving the Battle of the Bulge after being shot twice, awarding him 2 Purple Hearts. After winning 6 Kentucky Gold Gloves and a national AAU, Cassius would end his amateur career with 100 wins and 5 losses. After his highly successful amateur career, Cassius would be admitted to participate in the 1960 Olympic Games in Rome. With 83 nations attending, 5,000 athletes, and 150 events in 17 different sports, Cassius would walk onto the ring in the opening ceremony on August 25th. The torch was carried by Giancarlo Paris, an honor Cassius would later be bestowed. These would be the first Olympic Games ever broadcasted on television, having the videotapes flown in from Italy to be viewed on cable networking. The first boxing match was between Zbigniew Pietrzakowski and Carl Crawford. Zbigniew won 5 rounds to 0 in absolute crush. In the next match, it was Zbigniew versus Clay.
Cassius goes right to work on the pole. Pietrzakowski's southpaw style has proven very difficult for his other opponents thus far. No one has been capable of penetrating Ziggy's defense without getting hit with hard right jabs and a stinging left cross. Clay, in white, has proven to be the class of these 1960 Rome Olympics. Cassius has coupled blinding hand speed with brilliant footwork to win clear-cut decisions in his previous bouts. And there's the bell ending the fight. Both fighters gave their all in a grueling 3 rounds of torrid fighting. Cassius Clay, a very weary fighter. In a few moments, the judges' votes will be tallied and the winner will receive amateur boxing's highest award, the Olympic Gold Medal. The decision goes to Cassius Clay of the United States.
When the Olympics concluded, Cassius headed back to Kentucky. He went out with friends to celebrate the new Olympic win. They entered a cafe, but they were denied service once again because of skin color. After arguing that he should be served as an American hero, he and his friends were harassed by the local biker gang until they left. Outraged once again by prejudice, Cassius allegedly threw his Olympic gold medal into the Ohio River, and thus a whole world of skepticism was brought forth, thrust into the city of Louisville, where allegations will swirl until present day. Cassius won his first professional bout against Tony Hunsaker.
I tried every trick I knew in the book to throw him off balance, but he was just too good.
Cassius remarks that Hunsaker gave him one of the biggest punches of his career. His third fight was supposed to be against Willie Gulat, but he had last-minute sub with Jimmy Robson. Cassius knocked him out in 90 seconds, one of the fastest TKOs of his career. In the 8th bout, fighting Alonzo Johnson, Cassius winning by unanimous decision. However, one judge scored 48-47 in favor of Clay. Cassius heard the first boos in his career for the lackluster performance. In the next bout, however, Cassius must have taken them to heart, because Alex Middiff received the most brutal beating of his career, being knocked out in the 6th round.
Trickle of blood below it. That's Mitchell down. 3, 4, 5, 6.
Alex retired after his next fight. After destroying Archie Moore and Henry Cooper, Cassius was challenged for the World Heavyweight Championship against Sonny Liston in the most anticipated match in heavyweight history. In the months leading up to the match, Cassius smack-talked Liston constantly, a trademark he adopted from the WWE Hall of Fame's Gorgeous George. After a few minutes of talking together on a radio show, George encouraged Cassius to do the same, and that's what he did, calling Liston a big, ugly bear. Cassius complained that his eye is burning between rounds, and allegedly Liston's manager had put itching powder into his gloves pre-fight. By the 6th round, his vision had cleared, and Cassius was back in action, pummeling Liston in an all-out assault. Liston receives a shoulder injury and was called off. The next day, Cassius repealed his slave name of Clay, becoming Cassius X, then Muhammad Ali. After the way the fight ended, a match was recalled. Only halfway through the 1st round, Liston falls to the ground. Muhammad stands over him screaming, "Get up and fight, sucker!" giving the most famous photo in all of sports. Having been down 20 seconds, Muhammad wins by TKO. Some journalists claim Liston betted against himself and took a dive, paying off what he owed to the mafia. The ring wasn't the only fight during this period, however, as most of the world was consumed in the conflicts of the Cold War. The most notable conflict was the Vietnam War, where 1,353,000 soldiers and civilians died. Although the U.S. never declared war, most historians and veterans definitely consider it as one. The war lasted from 1954 until 1975, the longest war that the U.S. had ever been a part of, until it invades Afghanistan, the Afghan War. Cassius was only 12 years of age when the war started. Lyndon B. Johnson encouraged Congress to go to war to prevent the spread of communism. At the time, the fear of communism was rampant in the U.S., a time period known as the Red Scare. Most political motivators were against the war, sparking the liberal counterculture referred to as hippieism. Most art produced in the era reflected this. They were opposed to the motive of the war, to stop the spread of socialist economic values, which the U.S. considered in opposition to their governmental system, democracy. One of the people opposed to the war was Muhammad Ali. After such atrocities such as the Winter Soldier investigation and the My Lai massacre, 2 horrid acts nearing genocide, killing hundreds of innocent Oriental human beings, or at least what government documents refer to them as. Acts such as these and many others are now seen as war crimes in the eyes of the United Nations. After changing his name to the one Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, gave him, he was soon drafted into the war, which he had denied. He said he wouldn't be distracted from the true menace of the United States, racial discrimination, in an interview on the Draft Dodge. He was quoted as saying this:
"And shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. They never robbed me of my nationality, raped and killed my mother and father. What I'm going to shoot them for what? How am I going to shoot them? Them little poor little black people, little babies and children and women. How can I shoot them poor people? Just take me to jail."
The quote was already popular among protesters of the war at the time, but after he said it, every person of color or the Islamic faith had a phrase that captured their outcry. His influence in the counterculture that had enough of racial discrimination, capitalistic manipulation, meaningless violence, and labels was widespread. Dodging the draft and protest became popular among followers. He exercised his free speech and freedom of religion, encouraging others to stand up for what they believe in. He was a pillar for all those opposed to the corruption America held in its borders. He was the challenger, Muhammad Ali.